6 days after its Australian release date, the 1st of January 2025, one of the few films that was released in the new year for Australia. Finally getting around to seeing this bad boy. Now, I have heard a few people have already mentioned Nosferatu, saying a lot of high praises, and I've heard some people go, oh my god, it's finally about time that audiences have gotten something as spectacular as Nosferatu, and with a director like Robert Eggers. I don't believe I've ever seen anything to do with Nosferatu. I do know that I've seen the cameo in SpongeBob. I do know that it's a copyright free on Dracula because there was such legal hoopla and the original copies had to be destroyed. It's a fun little backstory to go into, by the way. But this 25, I'm going to say 25 version, is a remake of the 1922 film. It's set in 1822, I believe, and it follows, from the context that I've understood, and I'm going to simplify it for modern audiences, is that it's a real estate agent who believes he's getting declined and is about to assist with selling a nice, lovely house until vampiric incidences happen along the way. That's the best way for me to kind of summarize how I interpret Nosferatu. And now I no doubt know that a lot of people are going to be like, no, Laura, that's not how it is. And I'm like, look, this is just the way that I simplified it. It may not be for you, but that's for me. I'm really keen for this, to be honest. The fact that Bill Skarsgård is in it, we all know him from being character creatures, who is phenomenal at it. Then you have William Dafoe, you've got Lily Rose Depp, you've got Emma Corrin, Nicholas Hoult, Ralph Eisen and Aaron Taylor-Johnson all starring in this film. Set in Transylvania, which is kind of pretty cool because, like, unless it's to do with Dracula or Nosferatu, we don't really get that many Transylvanian films unless you count Rocky Horror Picture Shows, in which case, excuse my manners. So let me tell you my thoughts on Nosferatu. And do bear in mind, I'm very good at mispronouncing everything, so please forgive me if I mispronounce this title and anybody's names throughout this review. Let me be completely honest. Period pieces are not my strong suit, but Gothic Victorian pieces kind of have a soft spot for me, and don't know if it's because of the way I was introduced to them or if it was just because there's something about them that kind of called to me in its odd little way. Now, I saw this because of one or two reasons. One, I wanted to see a creature feature like this, and two, why not? From the minute that this story started out, my first thought was, oh, it's Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein mixed with Sleepy Hollow, mixed with other stories that are kind of in the same realm as it, and I just could not unimagine it. I even envisioned it being something along the lines that, in regards to the first one being released in 1922, that it's kind of taking the same vein as classic Hollywood when it was starting out with black and white pictures, and how it allows the camera to be the audience, and it's as if the actors are playing to a stage rather than to a camera, with the way that it's blocking, having the actors be centered or to be offside to create this illusion, or even having just the atmospheric score and the way that they're giving us the information of Count Orlok without overbearing us too much. Now, in classic Hollywood, in the black and white eras, when they did features like this, their monsters would be subtly introduced, whether it be with their hands, with their shadows, with their face, and then a full reveal at the needed moments. For me, I can see the storyline. I felt like I was kind of, in a sense, transported to a time that I never existed in. I could see the illusion that they were wanting to create. I was immersed for the whole time that this was running, which is very good, because you do not want a movie where you check your phone or check your watch or pick up that phone call, because my phone started ringing halfway through this movie. I felt so bad. Thank God it was on silent, but I was like, no, don't ring me, not now. There is so much beauty in this. The fact that a story set in the 1800s, I believe, where women of hysterics were treated as problematic, where women of hysterics were not seen as human beings, where men who were in hysterics were to be seen as insane to some extent. the story of not just grief, but also unrequited love in its dark evils. That the fact that you could see so much beauty in this. Watching the way that the camera moved, very reminiscent of the early cinema years where it was playing to the audience, where instead of using the technology that we have today, they had to use the way that the camera moved to indicate a scene change or to indicate a swipe of scenery. Even the way that, again, like I mentioned earlier, the blocking, having most of the characters, specifically the important character of the scene, be centered when they're talking, and when they turn their body language, it's facing to the audience, which is why I believe it's meant for a stage. And I could see this working on a stage way. The set design being part of the illusion, being its own little character, the costumes helping elevate the need not just to tell of the craft of the era, but also the craft of allowing the actors to move in a particular sense. Even with Count Orlok, and again I mentioned this earlier, where he was only shown at the appropriate times. He wasn't just flung to the audience and called a day. He was like, okay, this is my fingers, this is my shadows, this is my cab, which I'm going to use as an illusion to lure you to me. The way that it's torn between love, how it's the unrequited love of Count Orlok and the precious love of Thomas, who is supposed to be the savior, but unfortunately cannot be the savior. The story of a woman who's kind of torn between being believed and being hurt. It's a very fascinating movie. I can see why audiences love it because it's absolutely fantastic. Robert Eggers does an amazing job bringing this to life. Every filmmaker that worked on this, absolutely phenomenal job. If you have not already, go see Nosferatu. You will love it. You will jump at a few times like I did. You will not feel overwhelmed, but you will feel like you are there. And that's what I love about this film. Like I said, the camera is the audience. And it's as if you're watching a stage play. So